Hi, it's Sandra Empleton. In my previous videos, I did a video earlier that was called God's Plan for His Son's Return. And it involved collecting signatures for this amazing divine book. The miracle of this book and how people are coming to me is so fascinating that I just wanted to share a little bit about what it's really like for me collecting these signatures. And I want to tell you the story because it's a really great story. So I'll start with this. I was out having breakfast with my husband, and we were meeting at this breakfast place here in Clarkson. And a man came in with his son, and they held the door open for me because I was by myself waiting for Dave. And they opened the door, and I said, "Oh, thank you very much for allowing me to go through." Very polite. And when the man passed by, something inside of me kind of went, "Oh, there's something about him. Like I don't know what it is, but." I was drawn to him. I felt this initial drawing. So the waitress seats the man, and he had his son with him, and they went and sat down in the restaurant, and I waited for my husband. And then when Dave came in, the two of us are sitting there, and guess where we get seated? Right? Is right beside them. So now I'm sitting right beside this man. I keep going, there's something there. I don't know what it is. And his son's eating breakfast, but he's not. And as he's watching his son eating breakfast, he's kind of like nodding off like this, right? And I'm thinking, making assumptions, making all sorts of judgments, by his appearance and what's going on. And going, oh no, what if he can't afford to eat anything and he can only has enough money for his son? And I'm thinking these kind of thoughts, and then right away, I want to do something. It's not right that he doesn't have any breakfast. So this is really bothering me. So I was trying to figure out how I was going to help him. And so when he went to leave, I excused myself from my husband and went up to the cash register, and I went up to him. I said, "Look, I want to pay for your breakfast," and I offered him $20. And he says, No, that's okay. He says, No, I'm fine. I don't know. That's all right. And all of a sudden I'm realizing maybe I'm embarrassing him. Like I didn't handle that very well. So anyway, I just said, well, anyway, I wanted to help and hope to see you around. And I left, and he left with his son. Shortly after we finished breakfast, I left, and I was driving away, and I passed him and his son one more time, and I was looking at them and just wanting to help them as best I could, right? So anyway, something was stuck with me about this man. And so 2 weeks later, all right, it's a Friday, and I'm at my house, and I'm cleaning the house and tidying up on the Friday morning, and I was so beautiful outside, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to sit outside for a few minutes and just get some sun. So I get a cushion, I sit out my front step, and I'm there, I'm not kidding you, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And this white car drives by, and this man is driving this truck, and he's driving his truck, and he sees me, and he like that, and drives his truck and pulls right over. Gets out of his truck, walks up my walkway, and immediately I could see by his eyes, there's something amazing about this guy. Beautiful, piercing eyes. The energy around him was phenomenal. He was about 60 years old, and he said, I think he was from Chile or down in South America, right? And he says to me, do you want your eaves troughs clean, or do you want your windows? Do you want your windows washed? And I'm going, I hadn't planned on it, right? But I knew there was a reason that this guy came up to my house. So quickly Spirit fills me in. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about anything. He's here to sign the book. But it acts out in the physical world that he's here to wash the windows and do the eaves troughs, right? So I'm thinking, sometimes Dave sells a lot of houses. Sometimes it's slow. Should I invest the money in this? And then, like I said, Spirit says, it's not about the money, Sandra. It's not about the money. Okay, we reach a price. We agree on a price of $120. And so I said, look, why don't you start doing the eaves troughs and doing the windows and everything, and I'll go over to the store and I'll get your money. So he agrees, and off he goes, and he's scrubbing away in the eaves troughs, and off I go to the store. And I'm walking into Sobeys, and all of a sudden, right in front of me, is this guy from the restaurant with his son, the guy who was eating breakfast. And I go, hey, and I walk over and I go, it's me. Do you remember me? I'm the lady that tried to buy that breakfast. And he goes, oh yeah, I do. And I said, listen, may I speak with you for a minute? And he goes, yeah, okay. And we were standing on either side of this partition with flowers on it. And I said, let's just walk down here, but so we can just talk face to face. So we walked down to the end of the aisle thing there that the flowers are on, and I said, so my name is Sandra. And he says, look, lady, he says, before you start, he says, I just want you to know, like, I'm a happily married man. Well, honest to God, I broke out laughing hysterically. I was just, he thinks I'm trying to pick him up, right? I said, no, no, no. I said, well, what's your name? And he says, it's Doug. And I said, okay, well, my name is Sandra. And he said, listen, I said, Doug, look, I've run into you, and there's a reason I'm running into you again. And I said, do you believe that things happen for a reason? Do you believe that we're destined for things? Like, what do you kind of believe in? And he's saying, well, I don't know if I believe in that kind of thing, but what I really do believe in is the power of the earth, the Gaia, the energy that comes from the earth. That's what I really believe in. No sooner had the words left his mouth, and there's this employee from Sobeys walking through between us, carting this big flat of dirt. I'm sitting there like, there's validation right away. Spirit's saying this is what he believes in. So what he believes in shows up. All right. So I talk to him, and I say to him, okay, look, I'm Sandra, and I'm collecting the 500 angels of the people that carry a piece of Christ on earth, who were there when he ascended. And I said, you were there when Christ ascended, and he left a piece of himself inside of you. And he's listening to me, and he's kind of shy, kind of quiet. And after I told him the whole story, he says, okay. He says, I hear what you're saying. He said, all right, well, I'll sign your book. He says, if it'll help with your project, I'll sign the book. And I said, great. And I said, he said, just stop in one night, and I'm on the night shift, and I'll sign it. And I said, okay, great. I said, anyway, Doug, it's good to talk to you. Off I go, get the money, come back to my house. The guy's finished washing the windows, doing the eaves troughs. And I said, are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? And he says, sure. So I make him a sandwich, and the two of us sit out the back porch. And of course, I bring out the book and I tell him the story. I said, look, you're not here. You think you're here to wash my windows. You think you're here, for the eaves trough, but you're here to sign this book. So I tell him the story of the 500, and he signs the book. Puts the pen down, and he looks at me and he says, okay, I got to tell you something. And I said, what? And he said, I don't know where I am. And I go, what do you mean? He says, do you know where I live? And I said, no. And he says, I live in North York. He says, I got in the car this morning, and I just knew I had to find this house. He says, I've been driving for 2 hours, not knowing where I'm going, but I knew I had to find this house. And when I drove by your house, he says, I looked right at you, and Spirit said, like a voice said to him, that she needs me. She needs me. And so we got out of the car. He didn't knock on anyone's door that day. He knew Spirit was guiding him to come to my house. So that's great. When something like that happens, that's an awesome validation. So I was totally, totally thrilled. So he leaves. 3 days later, my girlfriend, her name's Teresa, she's also one of the 500 angels. She's at a dog park, and she's walking her dog, letting her dog go to the dog park. She's sitting beside her girlfriend, and they're talking, right? And so a man comes and sits beside them. So after they're chatting back and forth, then Teresa's friend leaves. So now there's just Teresa and this man, and she says, oh, hi, she's very friendly too. Hi, my name's Teresa and everything, and I do iridology, and I do all this healing modalities, and do you believe in spirit? And the guy turns to her and says, this is just the weirdest thing. He said, I keep running into people that are talking about spirit. He said, a few days ago, I was at Sobeys, and this lady comes up to me and tells me I'm an angel. And Teresa looks at him and goes, was her name Sandra? And he goes, yes. She said, well, you are an angel then, and so is she, and so are you. So this type of phenomenal stuff happens to me all the time. So I'm sharing this story because I want you all to know that this is God's plan. This isn't my plan. It's happening. It's really happening. And when we get these 500 signatures, I can't wait to see what God has in mind for the return of that Christ energy. So stay tuned, and I'll tell you more stories. Thanks.